Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. If you're into coins, collecting, or just fascinated by the idea that something in your pocket could be worth a fortune, then you're going to want to stick around for this one. Because today, we're talking about a very special coin, a 1965 Washington quarter that turned out to be worth an unbelievable $1.7 million. That's right, a coin most people think is common, ordinary, and worth just 25 cents. But there's a hidden story here that could blow your mind. Let's rewind a bit to understand what makes the 1965 quarter so fascinating. Up until 1964, all U.S. quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. But in 1965, the U.S. Mint made a big change. Due to the rising cost of silver and a coin shortage, the Mint removed all silver from quarters. Starting that year, quarters were made with a clad composition, copper sandwiched between layers of nickel. It was a historic shift in American coinage and marked the end of the silver era for quarters. Now here's the kicker. In 1965, even though the Mint officially stopped using silver, some silver planchets, those are the blank metal discs used to make coins, accidentally got mixed in and struck with the New Year's date. That's where things start to get really interesting. Imagine this. In a sea of nearly 2 billion clad quarters minted in 1965, only a handful were struck using silver planchets left over from the previous year. These are what collectors call transitional error coins. They're incredibly rare, and because they come from a historic moment in minting, they are insanely valuable. One of these rare 1965 quarters, struck on a 90% silver planchet, was authenticated, graded in mint state, and eventually sold at auction for a staggering $1.70 million. That's not a typo. $1.7 million for a single quarter. So what makes this coin so valuable? It's all about rarity, history, and condition. Transitional errors like this are ultra-rare because the Mint usually catches these mistakes before they leave the facility. But every once in a while, one sneaks through. When that happens, and the coin is preserved in excellent condition, it becomes a one-of-a-kind piece of American history. Now, let's talk about how to tell if you might have one of these special quarters. First, you need to know how to spot the difference between a regular 1965 clad quarter and a rare silver one. The first thing to do is check the edge of the coin. A standard clad quarter will show a copper-colored line on the edge because of its copper core. A silver quarter, on the other hand, will have a solid silver edge with no copper color at all. Next, check the weight. A regular 1965 clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver quarter, like the ones from 1964 and earlier, weighs approximately 6.25 grams. You'll need a digital scale with precision to the hundredth of a gram, but this small difference can reveal a major treasure. Another tip is to listen to the sound. Silver quarters produce a higher, more ringing tone when dropped on a hard surface. Clad quarters sound duller and less vibrant. It's not a foolproof method, but seasoned collectors can often hear the difference. If your 1965 quarter has a solid silver edge, weighs closer to 6.25 grams, or sounds different than the others in your change, it's time to take the next step. Get that coin authenticated and graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified silver 1965 quarter in high grade is extremely valuable, and getting it graded not only proves its authenticity but increases its market value tremendously. Even if your coin doesn't turn out to be one of the ultra-rare silver versions, there's still value in high-grade clad 1965 quarters. Coins in mint state condition, especially those graded MS66 or higher, can fetch anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s depending on their condition and eye appeal. So don't dismiss your 1965 quarters just yet. Condition and quality can still bring big rewards. Let's not forget the historical significance of this coin. The 1965 Washington quarter marks a turning point in U.S. monetary history. It represents the end of silver circulation coinage and the beginning of the modern clad era. That alone makes it a must-have for collectors. But the rare few that were mistakenly struck on silver planchets? Those are the holy grail. Imagine going through your old coin jar, flipping through an inherited collection, or just checking your pocket change, and realizing you're holding a piece of American history worth over $1 million. It's not just a dream, it's happened before, and it could happen again. So if you have any 1965 quarters lying around, now's the time to give them a second look. Check the edge, check the weight, and if anything feels off or unusual, don't ignore it. That little quarter could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. Thanks for watching, And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more rare coin stories and hidden treasures. Drop a comment below if you think you've got a rare 1965 quarter or if you have a coin story to share. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep collecting, and always check your change. You never know when you might find that $1,000,000 coin. Let me know if you'd like a version shortened for a specific video duration, or if you want a voiceover-ready version with pacing notes for narration. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most exciting stories in the world of rare coins. We're talking about the 1997 D Washington quarter. That's right, a coin that could be sitting in your change jar or hiding in a drawer somewhere, potentially worth over $1.2 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? But by the end of this video, you'll see why this little coin has collectors and numismatists buzzing. So make sure to watch all the way through, because you don't want to miss the details that could make your coin a fortune. Let's kick it off with a quick history lesson on the Washington quarter itself. This iconic piece of American currency was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Originally intended to be a one-year commemorative coin, it was so popular that it became a permanent part of U.S. coinage. Designed by John Flanagan, the Washington quarter has gone through several design changes, but the core look, Washington's bust on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, remained the standard for decades. Fast forward to 1997. A year before the U.S. Mint would launch the 50-state quarters program. This was the final full year of the classic eagle-back design before the big shift. That already makes 1997 quarters a bit special to collectors. But there's one in particular, the 1997 D Washington quarter minted in Denver, that's in a league of its own. Now, the regular 1997 D quarter is not rare at all. In fact, the Denver Mint struck over 599 million of them. Most are worth only face value in circulated condition, and even in uncirculated condition, they might fetch just a few dollars. So what's the deal with one being worth over $1 million? It all comes down to one word: errors. You see, the U.S. Mint is usually very precise, but every once in a while, something slips through the cracks. Whether it's a striking error, a misprint, or a planchet mistake, rare errors can make a coin incredibly valuable. And in the case of this specific 1997 D Washington quarter, it's believed that a very small number, or possibly just one, was struck on a 25-cent blank using experimental or mismatched dies. Here's where it gets really interesting. This particular coin shows features that are completely different from a standard quarter. It has incredible doubling, strange anomalies in the date, mint mark misplacement, and in some reports, even features from a different denomination. It might have been struck using a proof die on a circulation planchet or had a composition mix-up during minting. What makes it so valuable isn't just the error, it's the extreme rarity. If this error occurred only once, it becomes a one-of-a-kind item. And in the world of coin collecting, rarity equals value. In fact, one verified sale of such a 1997 D Washington quarter reached a jaw-dropping $1.2 million at a private auction. That's more than a Lamborghini or a beach house for a 25-cent coin. Collectors go crazy for coins like this because they represent a moment in history, a freak accident that slipped past the watchful eyes of the mint, and ultimately became a treasure for whoever found it. It's also important to note that condition matters. A coin like this would need to be in mint state or near-perfect condition to command that kind of price. Grading agencies like PCGS or NGC authenticate and grade coins, and having their certification is essential if you believe you have something rare. So how can you tell if your 1997 D quarter is worth more than 25 cents? Here are a few things to look for. Check the mint mark. Does it look off or misaligned? Look closely at the date and lettering. Do you see any doubling or strange textures? Examine the edge. Is the reading consistent? And finally, feel the weight. An unusual composition might give the coin a slightly different heft than normal. If anything seems out of the ordinary, your next step should be to get it professionally evaluated. And here's something to keep in mind. Even if yours isn't the $1 million version, certain 1997 D quarters in top-grade condition, especially MS67 or higher, can still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to collectors. Not bad for something you might find in pocket change. So before you spend that next quarter on a soda or parking meter, take a moment and really look at it. You never know, you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins in recent U.S. history. The idea that something so ordinary could turn out to be extraordinary is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about rare coins, hidden treasures, and collectibles, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And if you think you might have a valuable coin, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting. Let me know if you want this optimized for a specific length, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or adapted for voiceover pacing. Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins, everyone. Today we're talking about a coin that looks completely ordinary on the outside, but in one rare case, it turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. That's right, we're diving deep into the story of the 1986 P. Washington quarter. A small piece of change with a huge story behind it. Whether you're a coin collector, treasure hunter, or just someone who checks your spare change, this is one coin you'll definitely want to hear about. So let's start at the beginning. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, replacing the standing Liberty quarter. It was meant to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, and the public loved the new design. The obverse features a left-facing profile of George Washington, based on a bust created by sculptor Jean-Antoine Hedon. The reverse originally showed a majestic eagle with wings spread and arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and readiness. By 1986, this design had already become a classic. The coin was struck in Philadelphia, which is denoted by the small letter P on the right side of Washington's ponytail. That year, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 550 million quarters. That's right, more than 500 million coins. So, at first glance, the 1986 P. Washington quarter seems like one of the most common coins out there. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite the massive production run, a very small number of these quarters were struck with extraordinary errors or unique conditions that make them incredibly rare and valuable. And among those, there's one particular coin that has become a legend in the world of numismatics. This coin is believed to have sold in a private transaction for a staggering $1.40 million. So what made this single 1986 P quarter worth such an enormous sum? The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, condition, and most importantly, a spectacular minting error. This specific coin was struck on a planchet that was never meant to be used for a quarter. Instead of being made from the typical copper-nickel clad material, it was mistakenly struck on a pure silver planchet. That's right, a silver quarter in 1986, decades after the U.S. stopped making silver quarters in 1964. Not only that, but this coin was in near-perfect condition. Graded as MS-68 by one of the top grading agencies, it had a flawless surface, razor-sharp details, and an unmatched level of eye appeal. Add that to the fact that no other 1986 P silver quarter has ever been verified, and you have a one-of-a-kind coin, something every collector dreams about. And let's be real here. In the world of coin collecting, it's not just about age. It's about rarity. It's about history. And it's about how unique your coin is. A coin like this is the perfect storm of all three. A minting anomaly from a high mintage year, preserved in pristine condition, and made from the wrong metal. That's what makes a $1 million coin. Now you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these rare 1986 P quarters? Great question. Here's what to look for. First, check the weight. A normal copper-nickel quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a silver quarter, like the pre-1965 ones, weighs about 6.25 grams. That tiny difference can be your first clue. You'll need a precise digital scale to measure it. If your 1986 P quarter is heavier than it should be, it's worth taking a closer look. Next, examine the color and shine. Silver coins tend to have a different luster than modern clad coins. They often have a more matte or frosty appearance, especially if uncirculated. Also, listen to the sound. A silver coin produces a higher-pitched ring when dropped on a hard surface compared to the duller sound of a clad quarter, but don't rely on sight and sound alone. If you think you might have something special, get it authenticated and graded by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their certification can not only confirm the rarity but also skyrocket the coin's value by giving collectors confidence in its authenticity. Even if you don't find the $1 million version, high-grade 1986 P quarters can still be worth good money. Coins graded MS-67 and above can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. And that's just for pristine examples with no errors. The key is paying attention. Coins pass through our hands every single day, and most of us never look twice. But hidden among the ordinary could be something truly extraordinary. That's the magic of coin collecting. It turns everyday change into a treasure hunt, and sometimes, just sometimes, it turns a 25-cent piece into a fortune. So the next time you get change at the store or dig through your old coin jar, take a moment. Look closely, because one of those coins might just change your life. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you found this video helpful or interesting, be sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of rare coins. And if you think you've got a special 1986 P quarter, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, keep collecting, stay curious, and always check your change. Let me know if you'd like this script broken into segments for pacing or tailored for a 10 or 15-minute runtime. Welcome back to the channel where we unlock the secrets of coins that could be worth a fortune. Today's episode is all about the 1979 D Washington quarter. That's right. A simple quarter you might find in your pocket or a drawer could be worth much more than you ever imagined. In fact, one rare example of the 1979 D quarter reportedly sold for an incredible $1.4 million. You heard that right. A 25-cent coin with a value that could buy a mansion, a supercar, or even change your life. So what makes this coin so valuable? Why would a collector pay that kind of money for a coin that was mass-produced? Stay with me because we're diving into the history, the design, and the fascinating details that turn ordinary-looking coins into rare treasures. Let's begin with a bit of history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the quarter featured a strong profile of Washington on the front, paired with a proud eagle on the reverse. This classic design would continue for decades, becoming one of the most recognized coins in the United States. By the time we reached 1979, the composition of the quarter had long since changed. No longer made of silver, these coins were struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition, a standard that started in 1965 due to rising silver prices and the hoarding of coins. The 1979 D quarter, identified by the D Mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail, was struck at the Denver Mint. That year, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters, which makes the base coin very common. So how did one of these common coins end up selling for over $1 million? The answer is all about rarity, condition, and a once-in-a-lifetime mint error. You see, most of the 1979 D quarters that came off the presses were business strikes, meant for everyday use. They were handled, tossed around, spent, and worn down over time. But in the case of this million-dollar coin, a few special things happened. First, this quarter was discovered in what experts call ultra-high-grade condition. We're talking about a coin that looked like it had just left the mint, flawless surfaces, no scratches, perfect detail, and stunning luster. It was submitted to a professional grading service and came back with a nearly impossible mint state 68 or higher grade. That level of perfection is extremely rare for any circulated coin from the 1970s. But that wasn't the only thing that made this coin valuable. What truly set it apart was a major mint error. According to expert collectors, this particular 1979 D quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, likely a Susan B. Anthony dollar, or even a foreign coin blank. This kind of error results in the coin being slightly larger or heavier than usual and may also give it a different tone or color compared to a normal quarter. This one-of-a-kind combination, a striking mint error, ultra-high condition, and historical relevance, created a coin that collectors could not resist. When it came up for sale in a private transaction, it reportedly fetched an unbelievable $1.4 million. So what can you do to find out if you're holding one of these valuable coins? Here's what to look for. First, check the overall condition. If the coin has no visible wear, strong details in the hair, lettering, and eagle feathers, and a brilliant shine, you may have a higher grade example. Next, use a precise scale to weigh the coin. A standard clad quarter from 1979 should weigh approximately 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Then, look closely at the edge. Regular 1979 quarters will show a clear copper stripe. If your coin appears to be a solid silver color on the edge or has unusual characteristics, it's worth investigating. Finally, examine the coin for striking errors. These could include double dyes, off-center strikes, missing design details, or anything that looks unusual compared to a standard quarter. If your coin checks any of these boxes, it's time to get it professionally graded. Services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate your coin, determine its condition, and verify any mint errors. That professional certification can turn a simple find into a six-figure or even seven-figure payday. Now, to be realistic, most 1979 D quarters are still worth only face value. But the possibility of finding a rare error or a mint-state gem is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. Stories like the $1.4 million quarter prove that treasure can still be found in the most unexpected places. So don't overlook the coins in your possession. Always take a second look at your change. What seems ordinary might actually be extraordinary. And that one coin you almost spent at the vending machine could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more incredible coin stories, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you have a 1979 D quarter or any other coin that you think might be valuable, drop a comment below. We would love to hear your story, and who knows, you might be holding the next $1,000,000 coin. Until next time, keep searching, stay curious, and always check your change. Let me know if you'd like a version of this script adapted for shorts, voiceover pacing, or with visual cues added. Welcome back to the channel where we explore the hidden world of coins, the stories behind them, and the incredible value some of them can hold. Rarest coins. Today, we're talking about the 1987 D Washington quarter. You might be thinking it's just another coin in your change. But believe it or not, one specific 1987 D quarter has been linked to a reported sale of $1.3 million. That's right, a single quarter, worth more than a luxury car, a house, or even a retirement account. Stick with me as we dive into the history, the mystery, and the unique features that could make your ordinary-looking quarter an extraordinary treasure. Let's start with the foundation. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932. It was introduced to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington and quickly became a fixture in everyday transactions. The design, featuring Washington's profile on the front and an eagle on the back, remained largely unchanged for decades. Now let's jump to the year 1987. At this point, the quarter was no longer made with silver. That change happened back in the mid-1960s. By 1987, quarters were struck from a copper core clad in a layer of nickel. The D-Mint mark tells us that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of these coins that year. So what makes the 1987 D quarter so special? Why would anyone pay over $1 million for a coin you can still find in circulation? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and one of the most significant mint errors ever discovered on this coin. The story begins with a unique minting mistake. A small number of 1987 D quarters were struck on planchets intended for other coins or foreign currency. These off-metal errors are extremely rare and typically happen during high-speed production runs when leftover blanks from previous batches are accidentally fed into the presses. The resulting coins look similar to regular quarters but often have subtle differences in color, weight, and sound. One particular 1987 D quarter was discovered to be struck on a planchet that contained a high silver content. This was never supposed to happen since the U.S. Mint had stopped using silver in quarters over 2 decades earlier. But somehow, one silver-based blank slipped through the system and was used to strike a Washington quarter. The coin was perfectly struck, with razor-sharp details, no signs of wear, and had a beautiful luster that immediately caught the attention of a seasoned collector. The coin was then submitted to a professional grading service, where it received one of the highest grades possible for a circulation strike. Not only was the coin an ultra-rare mint error, but it was also preserved in nearly flawless condition. The combination of these two factors created a one-of-a-kind coin. And when it went to auction, a private collector reportedly paid an unbelievable $1.3 million to add it to their collection. So how can you tell if you have a valuable 1987 D quarter? First, check the weight. A standard clad quarter should weigh around 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Use a digital scale that measures to 2 decimal places for the most accurate reading. Next, look at the coin's edges. A typical quarter has a reeded edge and shows a visible copper stripe running through the side. If your coin has no copper color and appears to be solid silver or a different shade altogether, that's a red flag worth investigating. Also, examine the coin's surface closely. Look for sharp details in the lettering, date, and portrait. If the coin looks unusually clean or untouched by circulation, that could increase its value dramatically. Coins with errors that are also in pristine condition are among the most sought after in the world of collecting. If you suspect your 1987 D quarter is something special, the next step is to have it certified. Grading services like PCGS and NGC can authenticate the coin, grade its condition, and identify any known errors. That kind of certification gives you the documentation and credibility you'll need if you ever decide to sell it or get it insured. Now, let's be honest. Most 1987 D quarters are still only worth 25 cents. They were mass-produced, circulated heavily, and are still easy to find. But stories like the $1 million quarter prove that rare coins can still be out there. You don't need to dig up buried treasure. You just need to look a little closer at the coins that pass through your hands every day. Collectors and investors alike are always hunting for coins with that rare combination of historical significance, condition, and mystery. And once in a while, a coin like the 1987 D quarter comes along and captures everyone's imagination. Thank you for watching and for being a part of this growing community of coin enthusiasts. If you found this story interesting, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a hidden gem like this one. And if you have a 1987 D quarter or any other coin that looks unusual, tell us about it in the comments. You never know, the next $1 million story might begin with you. Until next time, stay curious, keep collecting, and always check your change. Let me know if you'd like this adapted for video visuals, voiceover cues, or social media formats.